If you're training for a fall race or considering a race for the 2025 season, you're going to want to watch this video. Hi, I'm Catherine. I'm the personal trainer and running coach of Kathletics. Here at Kathletics, we're all about meeting you where you are in your fitness so you can approach hybrid training in a sustainable way. Regardless of your training experience, you may or may not have had a taper scheduled into your program. So today we're going to go over what a taper is and how you can approach that and what that means for you for the success of your racing event. To have a successful race, you want to make sure that you are training, of course. You are approaching your goals in a reasonable way, it's a realistic goal, and you are recovering and eating properly throughout your entire training season. With those things in mind, those all matter for the months prior, but we also need to have a taper that is leading up to the race to make sure that you're feeling ready and recovered for the race day. When you're programming your training cycle, you want to make sure that you're adding in what I like to call bonus weeks, which is usually about give or take 2 weeks that you're going to allow yourself as some cushion in case you get sick, in case there's expected or unexpected travel, or maybe just work and life gets really busy where you need to build in a couple extra weeks into your training plan to make sure that you are prepared for your race and also prepared to taper. With the taper, that duration is really going to depend on your goals as well as your experience and your recovery and your overall training cycle in general. So this is generally going to be about 1 to 3 weeks depending on your distance that is going to be raced. So for example, if you are training for a 5K, your taper time is likely going to be shorter than if you're training for a marathon. So just keep that in the back of your mind as we go through these steps of what a taper looks like. The main priority of your taper is to recover. The taper allows you to take the time to recover after months and months of training for your race event. This means that your quality of sleep, stress management, and nutrition and hydration need to be on point and are of utmost importance through this time period. To start with quality of sleep, your quality of sleep directly impacts your recovery. You want to aim for at least 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night, just as you would during your training cycle and any other time of the year, but we definitely want to make sure that we're getting that quality as well as the quantity. Moving on to stress. Your stress must be managed, especially during taper, because there is such a thing as taper tantrums. And if you haven't heard of that before, that is typically the time that people are reducing their training volume during the taper, which means that we are now not doing as much activity, and so we kind of get a little stir crazy. So we want to make sure that we're managing our stress and making sure that if you do struggle with that, that you are reaching out to your friends, family, letting them know ahead of time that, hey, I have this taper coming up. I'm usually busy training and I need to distract myself. I need to do things that I enjoy outside of training in order to make sure that I don't experience those taper tantrums, or at least they are more managed than just ruminating in the stir craziness. It's important to remember that this stress management and this mental health management that we need to be taking care of during this taper time is that it is just temporary, and this is again to set you up for success when that race day comes. Lastly, fueling and hydrating during this taper time is so critical. Often people will want to pull back from their fueling because they're like, oh, I'm not moving as much. Now is not the time to pull back from your fueling. We need to be making sure that we're eating enough in order to support both your life and the activity that you have been doing for the past several months, and also to prepare for the race day. This might also be a time that if you're somebody who drinks alcohol, you may be pulling back from that, either eliminating it completely or at least reducing it, so you can make sure that you are again feeling recovered and you are resting well throughout your taper. So again, you must be fueling to support both your activity that you've done, activity that you're going to do, and your life in general. And I do recommend working with a registered dietitian, especially if it's your first time around, or maybe you just have had some issues in the past with race day nutrition or leading up to it. This is a really important time to work with a registered dietitian, although I do recommend working with one throughout your training cycle so you can dial that in and know what to expect and feel prepared for that race day. Aside from those 3 major points of your recovery, you will have a shift in your training over these 1 to 3 weeks of your taper. Now, your tapering time does not mean that you're completely eliminating training. Your intensity will stay the same, but what will change is the duration, the mileage, the overall volume of your training will come down. You'll want to think about reducing by 20 to 30% each week of your taper weeks. So this may result in an extra rest day, or maybe just pulling back from some mileage or duration on various days of the week. Again, this will vary based on the duration of your taper as well as your goal distance. If you're looking to remove the guesswork from your training so you know when to taper, what that looks like, and what that means for you in your specific race, consider joining our one-on-one online coaching so you can take a comprehensive approach to your training. Otherwise, be sure to like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.